If you really want to train like Batman, then you need to eat, sleep, and recover like Batman. Because seriously, although the training programs as described in the comics and the Batman files and the films are extremely impressive, completing them wouldn't be the really big challenge. The real challenge would be to complete those training programs, then to fight crime all night and get barely any sleep, get beaten up, and then to run Wayne Enterprises the next day. He's got barely any breaks, barely any time to sleep, and yet he's got to somehow continuously push himself and maintain optimal performance. So you just know that Bruce Wayne's going to have the most advanced diet, the most advanced techniques and supplements to ensure that he can maintain that kind of output without burning out and just becoming this injured wreck. And whilst this is just a bit of nerdy fun, whilst it's just a bit of a thought experiment, it is something that can apply to many of us, because so many of us struggle to maintain our training thanks to our packed work schedules, our commutes, our other responsibilities around the house, our social lives, etc. How can you continue to train at your best, especially as you get older, when you have so many other pressures on top of you? Because this is what so many people don't understand. So many of us think of rest as being time away from the gym. If you're not at the gym, then you're resting, so it's very hard to become overtrained. Recovering doesn't just mean not training. If you're highly stressed at work, if you're playing with the kids, if you're commuting to the office, if you're tidying the house, or if you're socializing, those are all physiologically stressful events. They're all going to keep you aroused so that you're not properly able to recover and heal. So you need to actively recover, and especially as you get more busy, and you need to find strategic ways to get the optimal recovery, the optimal fuel when you're not training. And this is something that I've been experiencing a lot recently. So I have some exciting news to share with you guys. My wife and I are actually expecting our second child soon, and she's several months pregnant now, which is exciting and brilliant, but unfortunately she's also been suffering with a lot of morning sickness, which has meant that I've been taking over the duties looking after our daughter Emmy, who's 2.5 years old and is just full of energy. So at the moment I've been waking up early with her, playing all morning, getting her ready, making breakfast and looking after the house, then putting her to bed, working for 2 hours, then waking her back up again and doing the whole thing all over again, going to baby class. She's not going to sleep till like 9 because, again, she's a 2.5-year-old. And that's why at the moment, despite having made the Pioneer my full-time job, I haven't yet been able to increase the output of my content, etc., quite as much as I'd like to. And so the point is that whilst I might not work in an office and whilst I might appear to be a YouTuber who just gets paid to work out, the truth is that I actually struggle a lot to fit in my training and run the business as well, just like many of you guys, and especially at the moment. So some of these hacks, some of the things I've tried in the past have been really effective at helping me to cope with that and to manage my energy levels and my work-life balance. And hopefully it can do the same for you guys. Go Batman, or go home. So let's start with sleep, because this would be a huge area for Bruce Wayne to consider. After all, authors like Matthew Walker, who wrote the book Why We Sleep, describe sleep as this kind of non-negotiable performance-enhancing strategy. In the eyes of many neuroscientists, there is simply no substitute for sleep. It helps you to concentrate better, improves your mood, your focus, your reaction times, creativity. It helps to restore your muscles and helps you to repair damage from training. Someone like Batman, who pushes himself so far, so hard, is really going to need a lot of sleep. But unfortunately, his schedule just simply doesn't allow for that sort of thing. The good news is that a lot of the studies that people like Matthew Walker point to, whilst demonstrating the negative effects of sleep deprivation, aren't introducing alternative strategies to try and mitigate those effects. So the question for us then is, if we have no option but to reduce sleep, what other methods can we use to essentially reduce the negative effects that this would have? And that's where things get pretty interesting. So I've seen it suggested numerous times, and it is logical, that Batman might use something like a polyphasic sleep schedule, such as the famous Uberman schedule. Here, instead of sleeping for one large chunk, you instead split your sleep into multiple smaller naps. In the case of the Uberman schedule, this is something like 20 minutes done 6 times throughout the day for a total of 2 hours sleep. That gives you 22 hours of wake time, so imagine the training and the detectivating that you could do with those hours. This is just one schedule. There are some that are slightly less intimidating. Uberman is one of the slightly more daunting. There aren't that many studies looking at the effects of polyphasic sleep in the long term, although what I could find was generally positive and suggested that it could be sustained. Likewise, there are lots of anecdotal reports from people who have practiced these kinds of sleep schedules, saying that it actually gives them a sense of euphoria and maybe even more energy than they normally experience. But what we need to remember is that in order for polyphasic sleep schedules to work, you need to be really strict with your schedule. You need to allow your body to adapt to your new rhythms. And this is something that's going to be a problem for most of us, even if you're good at doing it 90% of the time. If you have one day out, one holiday, then suddenly this becomes an issue. And for Batman, whose life is constantly throwing him curveballs, he's not going to be able to easily take power naps, in the middle of a fight with the Joker. And for that reason, I don't think that polyphasic sleep is probably the answer for Batman. What's seemingly counterintuitive about something like the Uberman schedule, though, is that you're only sleeping for those brief 20-minute windows, and this doesn't allow us to go through a full sleep cycle, which most psychologists think is necessary for us to get the full restorative benefits of sleep. A lot of people on this schedule say that they go straight into REM sleep, because obviously this is at the end of a normal sleep cycle and they're clearly not getting enough of it. But what's really interesting is that some indigenous tribes also sleep for brief spells like this. The Paraha tribe only sleep for 20 or 30 minutes at a time, and they believe that if they sleep any longer, they'll actually lose their souls upon waking. Obviously, the Paraha are an entire tribe of people, and with no obviously negative effects. This seems to suggest that it is possible to reduce sleep, or at least negotiate the strict hours that we sleep during. Perhaps we just need to learn more in order to do this in a safe and healthy manner. So if, like Batman, you absolutely can't get your full 8 hours of sleep, perhaps not all hope is lost. What can you do to ensure that the hours you do get you the maximum bang for your buck? Well, we can learn one thing from looking at that Piraha tribe and others like it. Actually, there are a great number of indigenous tribes that don't sleep the full 8 hours, many of which seem to have no negative effects whatsoever. The interesting thing is, we long assumed that due to evolutionary forces, all these tribes should fall asleep at roughly the same time once it starts getting dark. However, what researchers have actually found is that many of them, like us, stay up long after the sun has set. The one predictor of bedtime that does seem to be true across many different cultures, however, is temperature. The tribes start to wake up once the temperature reaches its lowest point. In other words, as soon as the temperature starts rising, they start to wake up. This is a very important external Zeitgeber, also known as a time giver. It helps us to set our biological clock, in other words. We've always known that light is important for this, but so too is temperature. And if you're sleeping in a climate-controlled environment with your window closed and the heating on, then perhaps you're starving your body of one of the vital cues it needs to regulate its own clock. So perhaps one of the best things you can do to wake up feeling more refreshed is to sleep with the temperature off and the window open. This small hack could just improve your sleep, and we do know that sleeping in a cooler temperature is much better for our thermal regulation, leading to deeper and more restorative sleep. So even more Batman-like might be to try and replace your sleep with meditation. Again, we're not trying to completely get rid of sleep. Sleep is still the preference, but if you can't get enough sleep, then meditation might be the next best thing. There are actually studies showing that meditation can reduce sleep need, and that's both in the short term, where a bit of meditation can help you to cope through the day, improving mental vigilance and reaction times and focus, and also in the long term, where you see that experienced meditators actually need less sleep, or at least they appear to sleep less. One study titled "Meditation Acutely Improves Psychomotor Vigilance and May Decrease Sleep Need" concluded that these results suggest that meditation provides at least a short-term performance improvement, even in novice meditators. In long-term meditators, multiple hours spent in meditation are associated with a significant decrease in total sleep time when compared with age and sex-matched controls who did not meditate. Whether meditation can actually replace a portion of sleep or pay off sleep debt is under further investigation. In that study, they used a form of concentrative meditation from yoga, but this is something else to consider, is that there are actually lots of different types of meditation, and they might have different benefits. In particular, non-concentrative, non-directive forms of meditation, where you don't necessarily try and focus on your breath, but you just let your mind intentionally wander, like daydreaming. These seem to actually more closely mimic the effects of REM sleep. They help us to organise our thoughts. When you're daydreaming, that's what you're doing. You're consolidating memories, organising thoughts, coming up with new ideas. You're just allowing yourself to explore different connections and different memories. Conversely, using meditation that does involve calming the mind by concentrating on breathing or relaxing the body, such as a body scan meditation, these methods might be more effective at simulating the effects of slow wave sleep, SWS. So perhaps the perfect meditation protocol, if you're trying to reduce sleep need, would be to combine these different types of meditation. Then you have specific types of meditation that are well known for their ability to reduce sleep need, such as Yoga Nidra, which is something that Andrew Huberman talks about on his podcasts. And there are some studies demonstrating that this is certainly effective to a degree. In one study, it was shown that a short bout of Yoga Nidra meditation could restore dopamine levels in the basal ganglia, and this is one measure we can use to look at fatigue related to sleep deprivation. So There's some promising research around this, and you could certainly imagine Batman using meditation as a way to try and perform his best on minimal sleep. And this is something that I've used lately if I'm really tired and I've had several days of sleeping for just 5 hours, because keep in mind that sleep deprivation is a cumulative effect as much as anything else. Then I might try using a quick 5 or 10 minute meditation, and this can help me to perform better. So this is the Muse 2 headband, and I think the main great thing about it is that it's a fashion statement. Seriously though, this device is a neurofeedback device. It uses EEG, that's electroencephalography, in order to monitor your brainwaves during meditation. This is then used to give you feedback whilst you meditate via headphones or via your phone's speaker, basically telling you whether your mind is calm or whether you're starting to drift off and let your mind race. This little nudge then allows you to bring yourself back to focus, to calm yourself, and that in theory can help you to progress faster in meditation and get more minutes racked up of quality meditation. It has a bunch of other cool features as well. It's got a heart rate monitor built in. Of course, it's not essential if you want to start meditating, and I'm going to give a full review in future. Like any device, it has its quirks. However, I think it's very cool. I've definitely enjoyed using it. It makes meditating more fun, and I think it's the kind of thing that Batman would definitely be experimenting with, looking at his own brainwaves in order to achieve a calm state of focus. If you want to try out the Muse 2 headband, then you'll find a link in the description down below, and if you click on that and use my code, you'll also get a discount, and I get a small commission as well, so you'll be supporting the channel. I appreciate it very much. This is not a sponsored video, by the way. I actually reached out to them. It was just something cool that I was trying, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So in terms of just biohack, something that I think a lot of people could benefit from, and certainly Bruce Wayne, is sunlight exposure and the related topic of photobiomodulation or red light therapy. There are a ton of huge benefits to exposing yourself to sunlight, especially large surface areas of skin. Studies show that this can elevate testosterone in particular. This is partly through increased vitamin D production, which at the same time is also going to strengthen your bones and support your immune system. And generally it's now thought that vitamin D is significantly more potent than even vitamin C when it comes to strengthening your immunity. This might sound like a minor deal, but getting a cold or generally feeling under the weather is gonna put you out of action for a seriously long amount of time. Could you imagine Batman fighting Bane whilst dealing with, the flu or the sniffles? At the same time, this also helps to once again set your circadian rhythms so that you sleep better at night and feel more energetic during the day, especially if you get morning sunshine. In fact, as Andrew Huberman talks about, if you're suffering with sleep deprivation or jet lag or night shift work, one of the best things you can do to set your clock straight is to get early morning sunlight, particularly in the eyes, which will help to set those circadian rhythms and trigger the production of the right neurotransmitters so that your body knows what's going on and knows to wake up and provide you with energy throughout the day. But it might also go a little bit further than this, because you also get some red light from the sun, and studies show that red light exposure in particular can also boost testosterone, encourage healing, and do all sorts of other really cool things. Really early studies show that if you expose large surface areas of skin to red light, and particularly the testicles actually, this can drastically increase testosterone, and this works in a different way from just raising vitamin D. It actually boosts and encourages mitochondrial performance, these being the energy factories of the cell, or the powerhouses of the cell as everyone likes to say, and this also affects the Leydig cells, which in turn results in a massively elevated testosterone boost. Other research looking at red light therapy is also really positive. It can encourage blood flow, which at the same time can improve healing, and it generally stimulates energy production. So this is something that I could imagine Batman doing in his home, having a big wall of red light. It's not something I've personally experimented with yet. I would like to, but in the meantime, just getting more sunlight, training outdoors and taking your top off from time to time can be really good. And this is actually something I think makes intuitive sense. Many of the people that I've known in my own life who have the most energy and seem the healthiest are the outdoorsy types, people who are surfers or like riding mountain bikes or hiking. These people just seem to have boundless energy, and there might be a good reason for that. So you see, there is a reason for all of the gratuitous nudity on this channel. So that's it for part 1, guys. This video is getting so long I decided I'd split it into 2 parts. Here we talked about sleep and recovery, and next time I'm going to be talking about diet, supplements and biohacks that Bruce Wayne or someone who trains intensely might use in order to help themselves push themselves further. Hope you found this useful and interesting. If you did, guys, then please leave a like and share it around. That helps me out immensely. Likewise, leave any comments below, letting me know what different strategies you use to get the most out of your sleep, especially when you don't have enough time to sleep properly. If you like the idea of training and biohacking not only for strength but for cognitive performance and for better sleep and agility and flexibility and endurance, then you might enjoy my ebook and training program, Super Functional Training. You'll find that in the description down below, and there's a discount on right now whilst we're dealing with the pandemic. Likewise, like I said, you can also find a link to the Muse 2 headband if you're interested in that. I also have a print book out, it's called Functional Training and Beyond, and there I discuss functional training and what it means for the general population as well as athletes, so that serves as a great introduction, I hope. Either way, thank you so much for watching, for supporting the channel, for subscribing, it really means a lot to me, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.